perfect timing. Imagine the perfect timing in your life. The house closes in perfect time. Oh, I missed that flight, but I didn't need to be there because if I would have got there early, X would have happened. This challenge happened in my life, although now that I look at it, it was absolutely perfect timing because of all the other circumstances that could have gone. The only way to be able to see things like that and to be able to call it perfect timing is most of the time because we're talking about hindsight. We're talking about looking back on something and saying, oh man, I missed my flight, but if I wouldn't have missed my flight, I wouldn't have met the friend in the airport. Oh, I didn't close on the house. This happened to us a couple of years ago. We had a house that we put an offer in on. And we missed it at the time. But then I started to look at the circumstances afterwards, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a blessing. I remember we were going to buy a building in Chicago right across the street from our salon, and it was going to quadruple the size of the place, and it was going to be about the same price. And I had made the deal, and everything was perfect. And then the deal didn't go through, and my wife was crying, sobbing in our bathroom, sitting on the floor. And it caused some challenges between her and I. And as we sat there, it was devastating. But then later on, I looked at it, and then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, everything dropped, and that neighborhood, had some challenges. And had we bought the building at that time, we would have been in a huge financial trick. It was perfect timing, but perfect timing is always perfect when we look at it from hindsight. And most of the time, I thought of it and I was like, oh, wow, well, if I had foresight, then I could see these things coming. But how many of you have ever had a pro forma in your business or had a thought process exactly how it was going to go and that it didn't turn out that well? Almost every single one of us in every single plan. There's the plan and then there's actually what happens. And so it's not the foresight that we could look to, it's the hindsight that we wish that we could have. But how can we actually see with hindsight if we haven't experienced it? Well, in Proverbs 1, God gave us a blueprint and a roadmap on how to be able to guide ourselves as opposed to having foresight, but having hindsight because his vision is always 2020. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Perfect timing. Well, welcome to episode 499. It's a milestone for us today. It's exciting. We have episode 500 coming very soon, and we have an absolutely special guest that's going to be on. I think probably one of the coolest guests that I've ever had. I was racking my brain on this and thinking, like, how could I had Tim Story for episode 100. I had my friend Tom for 200. I had Lonnie Paxton, 3-time Super Bowl champion, for 300. Who could I get for 500? I could tell you this. Every person's resume that I've ever interviewed pales in comparison to the person that I'm going to be interviewing here in a little bit for episode number 500. This episode is brought to you by BLING. BLING is let's see if I can turn it. There we go. BLING is the number one selling product. It was in our salons when we had them before we sold them. And I tell you, every woman needs a little bit of bling in their life. It adds moisture, strength, and shine. You can't use too much, and it smells like vacation. It was my mom's favorite product, and I tell you, it's a nice to do until you use it. And once you use it, it's the most have-to-do product that you'll ever have. And I tell you, it is an unbelievable, unbelievable blessing in our family. It's BLING Shine Serum. You could click the link in the bio and check that out. But let's get to why we're here. It's Inchstones. It's perfect timing. It's Proverbs 1 and the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. I was saying it earlier, the house closed. It was perfect timing, right? I missed the flight. It was a blessing. I dodged that bullet in a relationship. We've all done that. Oh, it was perfect timing. Well, that's all because we're looking at it from hindsight. But while we're in it, we've got stress, we got anxiety, we got depression during those times. But what God is saying is, like, if you could see from what I see, if you could see through my perspective, if you could see just one glimpse of the way that I see your life, the stress, the anxiety would drop away, the peace, love, and joy would be filled up, and that you would understand and know that I have everything. I have everything in control. And as soon as you relinquish that control, then I can take it and I can start to move towards. But honestly, everything's going to be okay in the end, like JP said. And if it ain't okay, then it ain't the end. My wife always constantly tells me, no matter what turbulence that we're in, she'd always tell me, baby, it's going to be okay. We're going to have a story. We're going to have a testimony. This mess that we're in is going to turn into a message that somebody else can be blessed by. And so in Proverbs 1, it was a reminder of where to focus, especially when we're in the, in the midst of circumstance. If we're in the fire, right? If we're in the eye of the storm, or we're simply in a place that is so uncomfortable to us that we start to say, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? And I could tell you this, as a little kid growing up in Lompoc, California, in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people, there was times where I was sleeping on the 2 double mattresses that we had that were pushed together with no box springs, just on the floor. And I was sleeping in the middle because I was the baby and I had 2 big brothers, where I was thinking, like, how, God, are you going to turn this into something? I remember leaving Memphis, Tennessee, in 1997 and taking a job that, was less than minimum wage. It was $5 an hour, and I was on salary, so it was $200 a week. When I was making $1,400 a week in Memphis, Tennessee, and going to San Diego and having to get my own apartment and all these things, and I'm thinking, God, how is this going to be this huge story? But then as it unfolded, it became a part of it. And see, he knew, he understood every single little step. And so in Proverbs 1, it helped us to be, it helps us to be able to reset on the first of the month, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. Just helped us to be able to reset and say, like, where does our focus need to be? In verse 1 through 5, he talked about who this is for, because for me, I questioned this a lot. Like, okay, this wisdom thing, okay, this relationship with God thing, who's it for? And he answered it: the simple, the young, the wise, and the discerning. So he pretty much hit everybody. The simple, the people who don't take any thought of having a relationship with me. The young, the person who doesn't have much experience. The wise, the person with experience. And the discerning, the person who's taken wisdom and then added action to it and has discernment. All those people will be able to benefit. So basically what he was saying is, who's this for? It's for everyone. It's for every single person, no matter where you're at. If you're, coming out of a challenge, if you're going into a challenge, or you're right in the midst of a challenge, it's for you. If you have breath in your lungs, it's for you. If you're a human being, it's for you. If you have brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, white eyes, red, whatever it is, it's for you. And so the next question that I asked is, like, what is the benefits here? Like, what are the benefits for this wisdom and for me focusing on you when I can focus on all these other circumstances that I can have? Because I got life that's hitting me. I got challenges that are happening. I got my business, the business being robbed, or I got a relationship exploding, or I have challenges with my kids, or whatever it is. Like, why? What is the benefits of just focusing on you, God? And in verse 2 through 6, he said, wisdom, instruction, understanding, insight, prudence, doing what is right and just, knowledge, discretion, and discernment. Those are the benefits. Now imagine if you could take wisdom, instruction, understanding, insight, prudence, doing what is right and just, having knowledge, discretion, and discernment in your business. Imagine if you could have it in your relationship. Imagine if you could have it in your family. Imagine how much value that would add. So when I asked the question, what are the benefits? It was incredible because he helped me to understand what those benefits were. And that honestly, like if you look at those things, there's not much else that you would need. So then my question was, how can I go get this? How can I go get this? In verse number 7, he showed how I can go get it. And it's just simply to focus on him and to listen to him, spend time. My buddy called me the other day and asked me a scenario. And I was saying, like, you know, what my pop said to me, which was so frustrating at the time, but now I actually say it. So I became what frustrated me at times, which was, I don't know, but I know someone who does. And when I'd ask my pop a question or my mom a question, they would help me to understand that they didn't have the question. They didn't have the answer. They knew someone who did, and they would direct my eyes towards the Lord, because they knew, I believe in their heart, that there was going to be a lot of life that I lived without them. So I wouldn't be able to go to them for every single answer, but I would definitely be able to go to him. So in verse 8 and 9, I asked, like, okay, that's how I go get it. Like, here's the benefits of it. Who's it for? It's for everyone. What are the benefits? You told me. How can I go get this? You showed me. Just listened to you. So what do I need to do? Like, this is the practical part. Where does the rubber hit the road? Because when we hear philosophy and, sometimes people feel it's fluffy stuff. I'm not talking about philosophy. What I'm talking about is wisdom. And I'm talking about the application of wisdom. And how can I actually apply this in my life, in my business? Okay, this sounds great, God. Spend time with you, listen to you, pray about stuff. This is what I heard all the time as a kid. But then I'd be like, yeah, but I live in, I go to Vandenberg Middle School. I have challenges. I have people, bullying me because of the way that I dress, or making fun of my head or my haircut or whatever it is. What do I do in that? How do I apply this relationship with God? And so in verse 8 and 9, he answered, listen, protect, and apply wisdom. He said, read them, write them, and speak them. So watch this. If I listen to wisdom, where do I get wisdom? From the fear of God, and the fear of God means that I actually spend time with him. So if I listen to God and I protect what he says in my heart, because people are going to come in and try and say, oh, no, that's not what God said, or that's not, no. A personal relationship with him. And then I apply that every single day. And I take these principles and I add action to them. What starts to happen in my life is like, oh, wow, this thing worked out. My brother used to say that I had a golden horseshoe. I had a golden horseshoe, and he used to say, you got a golden horseshoe up your butt. Things kind of work out for you. Well, it's amazing, because when God is on your side, things begin to work out. Now, it's not to say that things were perfect. No, I had my friend Johnny reach out to me, and he sent me an article about this young lady who opened a salon. She's 37 years old, and it produced $1.1 million a year, and she didn't have even a bachelor's degree. And Johnny said, it reminds me of you, and we did that. We did that, but the reason why I was able to do that is because I had a friend like Johnny that would drive me to beauty school when I was 18 years old, because I didn't have a car. And it was 25 miles away, and I didn't have any way to be able to get there. So I leaned on my friends, and because of those things, the golden horseshoe concept worked out. It was because I leaned on my friends. I had people who supported me. I had all these people who lifted me up. And then I went in and I actually just did the work. And then, oh, wow, I got lucky. So watch this. If we listen, we protect, and we apply wisdom. If we read them, so read his word, write it down. Write down what you took from it, what hit your heart, and then speak them to other people. Said, fill your heart, and it will constantly be on your mind. If you fill your heart with wisdom, wisdom will constantly be on your mind. And then your hands will follow. Fill your heart up, your mind will become full, and then your hands will start to do the work of the wisdom that's in your heart. Well, once I got through that, I said, like, okay, what should I watch out for? What should I watch out? Once I get this thing and I start doing it, and what should I watch out for? In verse 10 through 19, it told me what I should watch out for. Number 1, the silly, the greedy, the dishonest, the hustlers. It's not a challenge with hustling. There's a challenge with hustlers. There's a difference. A hustler is just trying to get anything that they can just because they want to take. The ability to hustle means that you have a focus and that you're willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do. So watch this. What should I watch out for? The silly, the greedy, the dishonest, the hustlers, the get-rich-quickers. And then God said this. He said, don't even set foot on the path. The reward cannot compare to the risk. So just focus on me. God is not shiny. He doesn't have the newest and hottest, but what he does have is he has a principle-based truth that no matter where the circumstances happen in life, he will always be stable and he'll always be there, right there with you. Okay, so once I get that and I know what I should watch out for, where and how will I hear the call? Because I want to prepare myself for this, but where and how will I hear this call? And it said in verse 20 through 27, everywhere and loud. Don't be that guy. Everywhere and loud. Where will I hear the call? Everywhere and loud. It listed it out everywhere. It was shouting in the streets at the highest points of the city. Everywhere and loud if you listen. If you're listening, you're focused in on God, he'll speak to you through every single thing. He spoke to me through walking the dog yesterday. As I was walking the dog, actually, I have 2 dogs now, and I have little Ziggy, and he has puppy energy. And he kept running and just dive bombing Skylar, and Skylar's just trying to do her thing. And sometimes we do that in life. We have something that is slow and steady and it's working well. And then we bring a new thing in, and that new thing tries to eat up the old thing, tries to bother the old thing, tries to take it off its path. And I kept having to yank Ziggy back from dive bombing Skylar, and Skylar's just walking, being like, just leave me alone. But how often is it that in our lives? See, God can speak to you through every single little thing. And he speaks everywhere and loud. So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that says, oh, I didn't hear. Oh, I couldn't see. Well, you couldn't see because you weren't looking for it. When you go looking for him, you'll see him all the time. So in verse 28, I asked, what happens if you are that guy? So what happens if all this stuff, I hear it all, and then I say, you know what? I just don't want to apply it. In verse 28, it just said, you already know. So don't be. What happens if you are that guy? And we all know that guy. Well, you already know what'll happen. So don't be that guy. And then here's where we finish. And I had to ask, well, if that's the case, and I am that guy, and I go through and I choose not to, are you ever a lost cause, God? Am I ever a lost cause? Am I ever in a place where, you just wrote me off? And what God said is emphatically no in verse 33. When you start listening, things will turn around. It's just that simple. See, God is not judging you. He's not standing over the top of you. He's not writing down all of your wrongs. All he's saying is when you're ready, I'm here. When you're ready to listen, I will start to minimize all of the challenges that you have brought upon yourself. Our relationship with God is simply him trying to help us see through his eyes, because he knows if we could just catch a glimpse, you will be filled with peace, love, joy, contentment, and hindsight, 20/20 vision before you ever start your journey. You see, seeing through hindsight would make us jump to a completely other level, but the only way that we could do that is if we could see through his eyes, even if it was just a glimpse. So today, if you're in the eye of the storm, start listening to him. Ask him. He'll show up. He doesn't care what you did. He doesn't care if the eye of the storm was caused by you. He just wants you to focus in on him, and he'll help you to see through his vision. And his vision is as clear as that 20/20 vision that we get from hindsight. And his timing will always be perfect. My name is Kelly Cardenas. This has been another episode of Inchstones. This is episode 499. Stick with us because 500 is coming. I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. achieving, cause we believe in. It's for certain we